Have you ever noticed that the moment that you start setting boundaries, whether it's around food, time, energy, or anything else you want to change, it seems like everything around you, even your body, seems to resist at first. I remember a patient years ago telling me, she said, "Doc, the hardest part of fasting isn't hunger. It's trusting that my body will be okay if I don't eat." That line stuck with me because fasting is really about trust. Trust in your body, trust in your rhythm, trust that you were designed for restoration and not for deprivation. So stay by, because that's exactly what we're talking about in this episode. This is your 33-hour fasting check-in, and tonight we're exploring how boundaries build metabolic trust. Hey, if you're new to me, I'm Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, go to the next level. We're creating the life we've always wanted, and we are living limitless lives. If you are new, go ahead and put new in the comments, because I'd love to welcome you with a hand clap and some music. And let you know that I am excited that you are here. If you do have questions, go ahead and drop those in the comments, because I want to make sure that we get to those as we get through our episode tonight. I've got a lot of stuff that we're going to look at. I've got my monitors. Let's go ahead and let's see. I've got my monitors off to the side, my Keto Mojo and my Contour. I've got my report, my Dexcom Clarity report right below me. I will take a look at what's been going on over the last little while as we have walked into this fast. If you are fasting with us, those of you who ended your fast today at 24 hours during our pop-up live, just a hand clap to you. That is amazing, because you have decided to do something for your health. And those of you who are coming on board, who started your fast today, who are going to end that tomorrow in our 24-hour period, yeah. Some hand claps and some music. And I am glad, because those are indications. Those are things that you can put in your bank to say, okay, I trust myself again. My brain is going to be start trusting me, because I am committed and I'm doing the things that I need to do for my health. And so wherever you're joining us from, whatever platform you're joining us from, whatever part of the country or the world you're joining us from, welcome to you. And a special shout out to our Accelerator members. Thank you for hanging out and coming in as we continue our fast this week. So 33 hours, that's right, 33 hours right now into this week's fast. On our channel and all the things that we do in our community, remember, we are working through the Health Action Plan. That is that plan that is allowed or is designed to help you put structure into the things that we're doing for our health. And one of those things that we're doing is our MOVE campaign, Metabolic Optimization via Exercise. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at that promo right now. Welcome to MOVE, Metabolic Optimization via Exercise. This isn't just about workouts. It's about moving your body, moving your habits, and moving your life forward. Each episode builds consistency, strength, and resilience step by step. I'm Dr. Dwain Woode, and together we're writing the story of health, transformation, and limitless living. This is MOVE. Let's get started. And we are right now in our Blueprint series, and that is the series that is designed to help you produce structure around yourself that you can take advantage of all the things that we have to move you in the direction of being healthy, being alive long-term, and being successful, okay? So that's what we're doing as we move into this week. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at blood sugars right now. And right now you are looking at, this is my Dexcom G7, and you'll see blood sugar right there. My blood sugar right now is 84. Once again, we're 33 hours into this week's fast. Down below is my graph that you'll see there that's been going on for the last 24 hours. I'm going to put my finger right on that, and let's go ahead and scroll through together and see what's been going on. So blood sugars have been in the low 80s to low teens, 100 and teens, and then of course scrolling through as we are coming to where we are now, back into the low 80s, mid 80s actually. Right, so that's the Dexcom. And so if I scroll up here, the different view that we've not looked at before, but this is a very important one, kind of like the one that we see on the report. And you'll see there for the last 3 days, my average has been 117. For the last 7 days, my average 111. For the last 14 days, 117. For the last 30 days, 120. And then for the last 90 days, it's been 117. You know, we tell people we want their average blood sugar to be between 100 and 120. And you'll see that there. And then right below that 117 average that you see there is my glucose management indicator, which is 6.1. So that is a surrogate, if you will, for what my A1C should be. And then down below you see I'm in target 98% of the time, with that target being 70 to 180. Okay, so very good. I wanted to make sure that we take a look at this view. Let's go ahead now and let's hop over and let's take a look at what my Libre is saying. So this is a Libre 3 Plus, and you'll see here, this is my blood sugar right now, and you'll see it's saying that I'm below 70. Looking at the graph, just like we did before, the white part of that graph says that I'm above 70, and then the red part says that it's below 70. And so for most of the morning, up to till about 3 p.m., we were right above 70, and then dropped below 70 and remained there for most of the afternoon and into the evening. Just like we did with the Dexcom, let's go ahead and I'm going to put my finger there and kind of scroll through. And you see what those blood sugars are in the 70s, 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 low 70s, and then right about here, when we got to right around 3:30, we dipped below 70 and went up a few times, but for the most part stayed below 70, and then of course continued to drop down to where we are right now at 53. What I like about this is I can actually look at some of the reports just like we did in the other. These reports kind of break it down a little bit more, and so you'll see right here, this number says that my average, so I'm in target 66% of the time, and 34% of the time I'm actually low. So those, if you add those up, that's 100%. So I'm either in target or I'm low, and the lows are ones that happen when I'm fasting typically. For 14 days, I'm in target 76% of the time, 77 for 30 days, and then 83% of the time for 90 days, once again with part of that being lows, which is happening when I'm in the fasting state. Coming out of that and then looking at my average blood sugar over the course of that same time, so 7 days, my average, you'll see it on this line right here, 14 days, 30-day average, and then 90-day average. And then looking down on that screen a little bit, you'll see it breaks it down according to the times of the day. And so you'll see that my average blood sugar has ranged anywhere from 85 to 94 is the highest that I see there. And I like this because it allows me to pinpoint different times of the day what may be going on, and then allows me to make some choices about what I do in terms of my activity, in terms of my food and rest, and all those things that can affect blood sugar. Okay? All right. Now, let's go ahead and I want to hop over and we're going to take a look at what's going on with my monitors. And here is my Keto Mojo, which gives me both blood sugar and ketones. And then, of course, here is my Contour, which gives me blood sugar. And let's go ahead and grab my handy dandy container that has my strips. So I need a brown for blood sugar for ketones, blue for ketones for the Keto Mojo, I guess I should say. I have strips over here for the Contour, and then of course I need a couple of lancets, and I'm taking 2 out because just in case one doesn't quite get me where I need to go. Put this over on this side. Okay. And let's go ahead and get a strip out. This is for the contour. Get that into that monitor. And then let's go ahead and open up my Keto Mojo. This is the strip for the Keto Mojo for the blood sugar. Open that up and get that in here. And at the same time, we'll go ahead and open up the strip for the ketones for the Keto Mojo and have that off to the side. And that one opened pretty good, pretty well. So let me go ahead and turn it this way. And we'll just put that off to the side. We'll have it ready when we need it. And then now grabbing a Lancet. And as you know, I don't usually use a Lansing device. Let's go ahead and grab that open. And find a finger, and let's hopefully we get a pretty brisk ow, ow, ow. That's the one we've been picking on. And okay, so not too brisk, but good enough. So let's go ahead and get that on here to get that started. And another squeeze for the contour. And you'll see there that the contour or the Keto Mojo says that my blood sugar is 70. Let's go back over here for the says it's 70, 71 for the contour, and right here you'll see 55 for the Libre. And let's scroll over and let's take a look at what the Dexcom is saying right now. And the Dexcom right now is saying 84, right? So much closer for the Keto Mojo, the contour, and the Dexcom than with the Libre. So let's go ahead and I need another drop here. And I'm going to get the ketone strip out. And so go ahead and drop your guess into the chat. What do you think my ketones are going to be after 33 hours of fasting? 33 hours right now. Let's go ahead and get this one started. All right, so that one almost dried on me. So I'm glad that we got that going. All right, and so, yeah, go ahead and drop your guess. What do you think is going to be there? And 1 and 0.6. 0.6 is what it is at 33 hours. And let's go ahead and let's pull this over. Here is my Keto Mojo. All right. And so let's go ahead and try to get that synced up so we can pull that information off. Let's see, sync in progress. All right. So, so we're looking at these. Let's go over here. We're looking at these three numbers. Right here. So the big one that you see right there, 6.4, is my GKI or glucose ketone index. In the brownish, grayish number that you see there, that's my blood sugar right now, 70, and then ketones are 0.6. So ketones that are less than 0.5 are considered normal. 0.5 to 1.5 considered nutritional ketosis, and then above 1.5 considered therapeutic ketosis. And so right now we are in nutritional ketosis, 0.6, right above that 0.5. When you are in a fasting mimicking diet, when you're in a fasting with the intention of getting into ketosis, or you're doing a ketogenic diet where we want to generate ketones, we want ketones that are 0.5 or higher, and that's what you're seeing right there. If we look at the graph, let's see, when my blood sugars are higher, let's take a look at this one. And so you'll see there the tan line, those are my blood sugars, and then the turquoise dashed line, those are ketones. And so as my blood sugar was high, or 99, right, and my ketones were low, the reason for that is, remember, ketones and insulin can't stay in the same space for long. So if my blood sugar is high, and I don't mean high, but blood sugar is 99, relatively high, then my body is producing insulin. And that insulin does not allow my body to get into ketosis or fat burning. As those blood sugars come down, which it did here, right, my ketones started going up, and that's what we're seeing with blood sugars. As the blood sugars came down, ketones went up. And now, of course, my blood sugar is 70, and ketones are 0.6, right? Very good. So let's go ahead now and let's say hello to some of our community members. Actually, let's do this. Let's take a look at what my Dexcom Clarity report is saying. Let's do that right here. Okay, and so you see my average blood sugar for the last 14 days, 118, and we saw something similar on the monitor when we actually looked at the the Dexcom G7 report on my phone, and I am in target 99% of the time, target being anywhere from 70 to 180, and my glucose management indicator 6.1. So if I were to get an A1C, I would expect it to approximate that 6.1. Looking at the 90-day average, we'll see here that my average blood sugar is 117 over those 90 days. Once again, time in target or time in range, 98. Range being anywhere from 70 to 180, and my glucose management indicator being 6.1. And then scrolling over, let's take a look at what's going on with the actual daily graphs. And what I want to do is I want to scroll back to yesterday, which is when we started our fast. And right in here, we had some issues with our with the Dexcom. I think I forgot to start the Dexcom because it had ended earlier in the day. But we picked up with our blood sugar about 92, and just kind of following that through, 92, 103, 104, 106, 103 there, staying in the low 100s, and then coming into the morning into the low 100s, 80s, and 90s. And then right here is my wake up time. That's my, right there. All right, that's my toothpaste effect. So up to about there, 137, and then back down as we went through the rest of the day, back into the low 1 teens. And then scrolling down, down, down into the 100s, down to where we are now into the 80s and 90s. Okay, so that's a pretty good graph, and that's what we want blood sugars to do when we're fasting. Let's go ahead now, and we're going to say hello to some of our community members, and I see you guys out there. So let's hop over, and I saw Jiyon coming in and saying hi, Doctor and LLG. Hey Jiyon, thank you for coming through and hanging out with us. She says, I'm about 45 hours into the fast. I plan a 48-hour fast. It's my 7th 48-hour fast in a row. It's a miracle for me, even I binged also. So congratulations. Oh, you guys didn't see that, did you? Did I put that back up there? There we go. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so Jiyon, congratulations for that. And then, let's see, she's guessing 0.7 for the ketones. And then, Jiyon, I'm going to grab this question and hold on to it here. We'll come back to that. Another question right here. Let's see. So Steve is saying, hello, Jiyon. Jiyon saying hi to Steve. And Steve said, no, I eat an average meal. I had some steak, jello, creme brulee today. I usually have a salad, but didn't today. Yeah. So Jiyon said, wow, Steve, I really want to be like you, average meal, but I can't. She said, I am 2.1. So Steve is putting in his ketones right there. Great job, Steve. Jiyon said, Steve said, we've been doing this so long. It's just what we do, just become a normal part of what we do in the course of our, and I'm adding words there. So wow, your consistency is inspiring, Steve. Steve says, we try, and Jiyon smiling. Yes. So it's always good to see people who are having successes, and Steve and his folks have been doing this for a while right now, so they have been having a wonderful time in getting those numbers and remaining in ketosis for some time. So let's go ahead and let's hop over to our discussion as we talk through our discussion tonight. Let's do that. All right, so we are right in the throes of our Blueprint series. And so we're talking about in this week about boundaries. And this is one of those important topics that can be a make or break. So at 33 hours into the fast, your body is shifting gears. Insulin levels are now significantly lower. Your cells are no longer waiting for glucose delivery. They're learning to rely on internal stores. And this is where metabolic trust is built. Metabolic trust. In other words, your body says, you've given me a structure. I can relax now. That's why we call this episode, How Boundaries Build Metabolic Trust. So what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about the science and strategy using what I call the inner design loop, anchor, align, adapt. And we'll see how that loop not only supports fasting, but also creates the kind of boundaries that breathe. Right? So let's get started. Here's the thing. Boundaries are not just related to food. Boundaries are things that we have in all parts of our lives. Now, many of us have boundaries that we don't necessarily enforce, but they are boundaries nonetheless. We just have to give those boundaries some teeth, all right? So let's go ahead and let's talk. I want to talk a little bit about the science of trust. And the idea here is that predictability builds metabolic peace. Metabolic trust, when stability meets safety. When we talk about trust, most people think emotionally. Oh, do I trust that person? Can I trust them? But your body has its own version of trust. Biochemically, trust is predictability. When your metabolism knows what's coming, when to expect fuel, and when to rest, it can lower cortisol level and stabilize energy. At 33 hours, insulin is down, glucagon is up, and your body is balancing the shift between glucagon or glycogen use and fat metabolism. In fact, we've shifted towards fat metabolism almost exclusively as we get into the next several hours. The liver becomes your steady partner, releasing just enough glucose to keep the brain and the red blood cells happy, because those are ones that need sugar. But the rest of the body begins using fatty acids and ketones for energy. That's a boundary that breathes. It's flexibility, it's adaptive, it's consistent. So remember, predictability builds metabolic peace. So let's talk a little bit about our inner design loop and what that looks like. We're talking about anchoring, right? So anchor. So we're establishing your fasting foundation. The inner design loop, this is one of the first steps. So let's start with this. Anchoring means setting something that doesn't move, even when other things are changing. It's kind of like having an anchor on a ship. The ship is moving, it's in the water, and the things are going, the boat is going like this, and maybe the wind is blowing, and you drop an anchor, and the idea with that anchor is that that anchor holds where we are. Despite the fact that things around us are moving, the anchor stays fast. In fasting, your anchor is your why and your window. Remember, we talked about rhythm, alignment, and structure. What is my why? The anchor, the thing that's going to hold me. You decide this. This is my eating window. This is my fasting window. And you honor it because you understand what's going on and why it's happening. It's not about rigidity, it's about rhythm. When insulin drops during your fast, you're anchoring your cells to a new source of energy, right? We're tying it to that. You're tying it to stored fat. That consistency allows your body to stop guessing. We've talked before about metabolic flexibility, the ability that the body has to switch into using another source of energy. And when you do that over and over, the body does so rapidly, does so easily. And when your body stops guessing, it stops stressing. Remember, when cortisol levels are high, the body is going to get energy, which is in the form of sugar, and so that can disrupt our fasting, our ketones. Once you've anchored your rhythm, it's time to align, right? Once we've anchored the rhythm, it's time to align. And anchoring your boundaries will allow your biology to follow. When we anchor boundaries, when we are doing the things, we're fasting at a periodic time, we're fasting consistently, your biology learns how that is happening. That's the metabolic flexibility that we talked about. And so, aligning, this is syncing your body and your behavior. This is the inner loop, right? The second step. We anchor and we align. So alignment is where your actions and your biology meet each other. You might be fasting, but if you're still rushing, scrolling, stressing, not getting enough sleep, your body can't align. Cortisol levels stay high, growth hormone doesn't rise efficiently, and your repair process slows down. So we are actually hindering the process of that we are looking for in fasting when the things we're doing aren't aligned with where we say we're going. Once again, you're fasting and you've put in the time. You say, okay, I'm going to start fasting at this time and this time, but the other things that are surrounding you are not aligned with what you say you want, and so that causes elevated cortisol. You might feel cooler. This is when we're aligned. Calmer, even slightly euphoric. That's beta hydroxybutyrate fueling your brain. Your cells are in sync. This is what metabolic alignment feels like when we're doing those things and everything that we're doing is consistent with what we say we want. You've anchored and aligned. So now what we need to do is we need to adapt. Anchor, align, and adapt. Remember, alignment creates metabolic flow. But adapting is the flexibility that we need without failure. I'm talking about the inner design loop. Adaptation is where many people struggle. They think flexibility, but they think it equals failure. So if I have to adjust, if I have to change, if I have to do something a little differently, oh, I failed. But your biology was built to flex. As fasting continues, growth hormone increases to preserve muscle. Ketones rise to fuel the body and the brain. Autophagy kicks in, the internal cleanup system, which is going about and grabbing broken, damaged, unused cells. Your body isn't breaking down, it's actually tuning up. And that's what boundaries that breathe really mean. They mean structure that supports flexibility. Because life will change. Things will change. Your schedule will change. You will travel like I'm going to be doing. Adaptation is what makes fasting sustainable. Because life changes and your boundaries have to evolve with you. It has to permit some flexibility. Otherwise, it breaks. Fasting that flexes is fasting that lasts. So let's talk a little bit about hormones, right? Talk a little bit about hormones. And there's a symphony that's going on, a symphony of trust, if you will. Hormones are in harmony. Cortisol, growth hormone, insulin, glucagon. Let's look at those and look at the orchestra that's going on. So insulin is decreasing, and when it does, it's signaling a switch from storing to releasing energy. Because remember, as long as the blood sugars are high, insulin is standing there and the switch is on that says everything that comes in now, we need to send it to storage. But as insulin begins decreasing, as we're fasting, the switch that says store begins to go down, and now we say, hey, we need to get some of that stuff out. So insulin is going down. Glucagon is increasing. This supports the liver's steady glucose output. So the liver is using up the sugar, the carbs that are stored there. And that's a result, because remember, insulin and glucagon can't go in the same direction. So when insulin is up, glucagon is down. And now that insulin is going down, glucagon is coming up. That symphony, that orchestration that's there. And then growth hormone. Growth hormone is going up as we're fasting. It's helping to preserve muscle mass and encourage repair. We talked about autophagy. So growth hormone, when it goes up, it helps you recover faster. For example, people who are bodybuilding, people who are strength training, right? They have faster recovery, and the muscles are preserved. The mass of the muscles are preserved during fasting when they're doing fasting workouts, because that growth hormone is spiking up. And then cortisol slightly elevates early on, right? Because the body says, hey, looks like I'm entering a season of stress. But as the body gets used to it, you're doing it over and over. Now the body says, oh, yeah, we do this all the time. So I'm not in a stressful situation. I'm not in a dangerous situation. I can lower the cortisol. So it goes up at first, and then it normalizes as your body learns the rhythm. So notice what's going on. Your hormones are cooperating. They're not competing. They already have their signals. They're working in a harmonious way with the insulin and the glucagon and the growth hormone and the cortisol. Even the ketones that we generate are working in symphony. So consistency calms your chemistry. Consistency does not cause your chemistry to get disrupted. So let's talk a little bit about boundaries that breathe. This is where physiology meets psychology. Let's step back for a bit. Biologically, we've seen how structure creates peace. But psychologically, boundaries do the same thing. When you fast, you tell yourself, I can trust me. That internal agreement lowers decision fatigue. I tell people when I'm approaching a fast, I get excited. I love it because the food noise goes away. There's no decision fatigue there. My biology and my psychology have met, and they've agreed that internal agreement decreases stress levels. And when you reduce that decision fatigue, you lower cortisol and improve compliance. This is why people who plan their fasting windows and respect them succeed over the long term. Because their brain and their body are no longer at war. They're actually working together. So let me make this a little practical. All right? In real life, boundaries don't restrict. I want you to remember this. Boundaries don't restrict your health. They actually regulate your success. So let's talk a little bit of some practical boundaries. So how do you apply this inner design loop? We talked about anchoring, aligning, and adapting. Number one, anchoring. So anchoring means that we know our why, and we know the things that we're doing. So we're going to choose a fasting start. We're going to choose a fasting end. We're going to write it down. Okay, I'm doing this for my health. I'm doing this for metabolic improvement. I'm doing this to lower my blood sugar. I'm doing this so that I can be around for my grandchildren. Whatever your why is, we're going to choose my fasting window, and I'm going to write it down. I'm going to fast from Tuesday to Wednesday, from 1 o'clock to 1 o'clock. Okay, 24 hours. Number 2, I'm going to align. I'm going to use cues like morning walks, evening coffee to reinforce the rhythm. So when I do my coffee, when I go for my walk, I'm going to make sure that all of those things are aligned. So I've anchored it. I've got my start and my end. I'm using the things I'm doing now, my behavior, to reinforce that. So I'm learning how to walk. I'm learning now how to rest. I'm learning how to deal with emotions. I'm meditating. I'm stressing. I'm doing the 100-day walk to consistency. I'm moving, metabolic optimization via exercise. All of those are behaviors that I'm doing that will support the anchor. Because as I lower my stress level, as I get calmer, as I learn to deal with emotions, all of that now supports what I say I want, which is the fast. Because remember, we will get pushed and pulled off of the fast by the things that push and trigger us. But if we're learning how to deal with those, that now, all of that is aligned with what I say I want with my anchor. And then we've anchored, we got our fasting window, we've aligned, so the behaviors that I have are supporting my fasting. And now we're going to adapt. When we travel, for example, when we're in stress, when the schedule shifts, we have to modify, but we don't abandon. Let's spend a couple minutes right here. We're going to modify. We're not going to abandon. We're going to spend some time and say, hey, I know that things are not the way I designed them. I know that they're not how I intended them to go. I know that this is not what I was looking for, but things are different now, and that's okay because I have the ability to shift and bend and whatever I need to do so that I can remain successful. I'm not going to abandon it. I understand that it's not perfect. I understand that I can't do my 30-minute workout. I understand that I may not be able to do a 72-hour fast. But I'm not abandoning fasting. I'm adapting to where I am. This week I'll do a 24-hour. Maybe I'll do a 48-hour. Maybe I'll do a 36 hours. But I'm not abandoning what I say I want to do. Okay? So that is key. And I wanted to spend a couple minutes going through that one because that's the one that often will give us pause. And so that's what's going on in our real life. Every decision sends a message to your metabolism. You can trust me. And over time, that trust builds momentum. And the momentum builds transformation. And transformation now takes us in the direction of where we want to go, which is success in our health. So now let's answer one of the most common questions that I get. And the question is, does fasting slow metabolism? And I want you to think about it for a minute. Does fasting slow metabolism? And I get this often, and I get it enough, I thought we'd spend some time talking about it. People say, if I don't eat, won't my metabolism shut down? So here's the truth. In short fasts, metabolism doesn't slow. Say 24, 30, 36, 72, 48. In fact, it actually increases. And studies show that a rise in norepinephrine and growth hormone. So those are the ones we just talked about, both of which support fat burning and muscle maintenance. When people experience fatigue or slowed energy, it's not a metabolic shutdown, it's adaptation. That's our body transitioning between the two. Their body's adjusting to a new, clean fuel. The danger isn't fasting, it's chronic undernutrition without structure. As I said, short fasts of 24, 48, 72 hours, even something a little longer, 96 hours. But if we're randomly doing things and we go for extended periods without structure, that's starvation. Fasting is structured restoration. It is structured reset. It is designed to adjust the metabolism. So we're not just simply not eating. So the next time someone asks, won't fasting slow me down? You can tell them, no, it actually wakes your metabolism up. Right? Definitely. So that's our question. And so here's a reflection for you. What boundary helped you stay consistent today, this week? What boundary? I want you to think about it. What has been the thing that helped you remain consistent in your plan? And as you go through that, what resistance did you feel, and how were you able to stay consistent during that process? Just go through that again. What boundary helped you stay consistent? Did you feel some resistance? Where was that? Was it in sleep? Was it in interactions with other people? Was it in food smells? Was it a habit? Was it emotions? What was going on? What resistance did you feel? And how were you able to adapt through that? And how can I encapsulate that process and hold on to it for something else, right? So I want to learn from that. What did I do? How did it work? And now I'm going to take that, I'm going to put it in my bank, and I'm going to hold it off to the side so that when I need it, I can go pull it out. This is how we practice boundaries. This is how we generate and keep boundaries that breathe. And when you do, your metabolism, your mindset, and your mission all start to align. Trust your rhythm, and your rhythm will reward you. You're doing incredible work. Remember, fasting isn't punishment. It's a partnership. It's your body saying, thank you for giving me time to heal. That's what's going on. And when we do it well, when we anchor, when we align, and when we adapt, what we're doing is we're creating those boundaries that will breathe and that will give us what we need to be successful over the course of our health. And remember, our goal is long, healthy life. All right, so I am so excited about this idea of boundaries. When I talk, well, forget. Let me not start there. Let me talk about myself. When I think back to my struggles with metabolism, with weight, with blood sugars, with fasting even, and feeling out of control, it was a factor, or it was a function of boundaries. The things that I kept telling myself that I was going to do and didn't do. The question then becomes, if I knew, and if you know what to do, why don't we? Because the boundaries, we've complicated the concept of boundaries. We've made it a restrictive process. We've made it a punishment. right? Oh, well, you can't do such and such. That's not the idea. The idea of a boundary is I can do whatever I want within this space. Notice the change in words and the change in energy. A restriction, a boundary is a place of safety. It is, okay, I need to put this in place because this allows me to move to where I want to be, and it keeps me safe while I do that. That's the idea of a boundary. It is not designed to smack you on the hand, say bad boy, bad girl. It is designed to give you the parameters within which you can be successful. And so changing our mindset, changing the thought process, changing how we think about boundaries, and making sure that they are aligned with an anchor, and we allow them to breathe because they're adaptable, gives us the benefit that we want. And that gives us success. All right, let's go ahead and I see, let's go back to our community. And let's see, Gian was smiling there. And Jennifer, hey, Jennifer, what's up? Jennifer says, howdy all. Glad that you are here hanging out with us, Jennifer. Gian says, hi, Jennifer. And Gian says, show up in the live makes me consistent in the process. Yes, I love that. And then let's go back up here because Gian had a couple of questions. And let's see. Let's see which one. So two. Let me find them, Gian. Give me just a second. All right. So here's one. So Gian says, I always end up binging or overeating when I break my fast. Any tips? That's a very good question, and thank you for putting that in. And so, well, the second question that you asked is do I, let me put that one up, right? So let's just deal with both of them at the same time. And you says, do you have a history that also you eat a lot when you break your fast? If you have, how long does that stay and how long does it take to overcome? I think is what the final question is. So, and the answer is yes to the second question. Do you have a history of overeating? Yes. Okay. When I first started fasting, my concept of fasting was a concept of restriction, like I just mentioned. It was that I am being restricted for a certain period of time from doing the things I really want to do. And so I was in the space and I was successfully getting through the fast. Not an issue. I would go through the fast and I would get through the fast, but because I was restricted in the fast, and because all I needed to do was get through the fast, when I got out of the fast, the restriction was lifted and I could do whatever I want. Right? Do you see the idea there? And so when I came out of the fast, I was taking in all the stuff that was restricted from me during the fast, all the stuff I was missing out on, all the stuff that I really wanted to do, but the fast wouldn't let me do it. So when I came out of the fast, it was just a matter of replenishing all the stuff that I didn't do. I tell the story that when I first started fasting, I would save up, right? Because we have people who come through the office, pharmaceutical reps, patients will bring stuff. For an endocrinology office, we have a lot of food that passes through our office. But what I would do is I would save up the food that I would have eaten, and I'd put it in the refrigerator. And at the end of the week, what I did was I looked at the food and I said, you know what? This is all the stuff I didn't eat, so I'm going to have some of that and some of that and some of that and some of that and some of that. Right. So I would go through at the end of the week after I broke the fast and just go through and eat the stuff that I would have eaten for the week. Well, guess what? When I finally one day looked at the stuff I would have eaten, I thought to myself, oh my goodness, that's a lot of stuff. Okay? So I had to change my concept of the fast. And as you hear me say, the fast is not a slap on the wrist. The fast is me deliberately, remember anchor, me deliberately deciding that this is a tool that I'm using because I have a reason. I've got a wife. I've got a young man in my house that's growing. I've got family that I want to see. People I want to hang out with. There's a reason for I'm doing this, and I'm simply using this tool to get me in that direction, right? So that's number one. So I had to change my concept of what the fast is. It was not a restriction. It was my deliberate, intentional choice to anchor what I was doing to this. Now let me pause here for a second. Let's talk. I want to go back and talk about rhythm, alignment, and structure. Rhythm, alignment, and structure, RAS. So the rhythm that I talk about, and you've heard me say the rhythm is your why. That's your reason. That's your purpose. That is the thing that drives you. Rhythm also is the tone of your life. What do I mean by that? It is, does your life show up randomly? Every day it's another, we never know what's going on. And this is different from structure. This is different from structure. Structure, these are the things that you've put in place, the procedures that you've put in place to help you automate the process. But the rhythm of the life is, what is the tenure? What is when I get up in the morning, what is the tone of my life? Am I rushing all the time? Or have I internalized an idea of calm? Right? You see the difference? So what is the rhythm? So I had to change my concept of fasting. I also had to develop a rhythm of my life. What is my tone? And I'll tell you, and I'll put first one to put my hands up, this is a work in progress for me. Because I want to do and go and right. So I pack my days with stuff, and I'm up late, and you guys hear me talk about this. One of my biggest struggles has to do with rest and restoration. That's one of our health action plans. One of the pillars of the health action plan. That's one of my biggest struggles. Why? Because I've put so much. And this is where boundaries come in. Because when I've put those boundaries in place, they help me to decrease my cortisol level. They help me to de-stress, and my buttons aren't pushed. So changing my thought process, I had to get a rhythm to my life. And then the things that I do, right? Doing the show, I'm walking, I am strength training, all those things that I'm doing, the choices I'm making, right? Not doing doom scrolling, even to the point of not looking at some things on the news. The things I'm doing are with intention of making sure that I'm being aligned with what my rhythm is. And then what is my structure? What are those things that I put in place to automate the process? Fasting, for me, automated the process. It's just there now. It's what happens. Everything around me, people around me, I have conditioned them. Well, I haven't conditioned them, but they've learned now. Because I've done it over and over and over and over. My body now does it. I don't have to stress over, okay, oh my goodness, I'm going to go fast now. Not a thing. Now, the place I have a challenge is when I see my team members get up and they're going to eating, or I come home and I'm fasting over the course of my 72 hours, and my family's sitting down there eating, right? My wife is in the kitchen making something, and I smell those smells, or I go and I sit at the table with them while they're eating and I'm not eating, right? Those are the places where I have the challenge. But the automaticity of the process, is a thing now. And you heard me say that I teach in Triple E Formulas for Success. We educate, empower, encourage. But I'm looking for, when I'm talking to people, what is the rhythm, the alignment, and the structure in their lives? Okay? So, Gion, I hope that answers your question. But very, very good questions. about that. Yes, I do. I have had a history of overeating at the end. I kind of explained some of those reasons why that happened, and some tips for how we need to adjust that. All right, let's see. Let's go back here, and I see a message down there from Jennifer. Let's grab that really quickly. Jennifer says, "What's up? Is hubby had 2 flat tires?" Okay. Okay, so you're just answering the question. 17 miles. Da da da. Oh no. She says, "I'm full of life skills." Can see how we work get home. Okay, awesome. Okay, yeah. So let's talk a little bit about Triple E formula for success, right? So because that's what we're doing. That's the plan. The reason we do what we do is because our goal is to help you to stay alive as long as possible and to be as healthy as possible. That's it. Okay? And that's wrapped up in this idea when you hear me say, we educate, we empower, we encourage people to take charge of their health in their life, avoid complications, go to the next level, create the life they've always wanted. That's the idea. Long, healthy life. For your family, for your kids, for your grandkids, for all the stuff that you guys have been doing, and now you want to enjoy it. All of that is wrapped up in it. It's a personal thing for you. It's a personal thing for me. It's not just about some random number that somebody wants me to achieve. It's not about some random weight on the scale. It's not about me wanting to fast just because I want to fast. It's about me doing things to keep me alive as long as possible and keep me as healthy as possible. Because if those two things are not happening, then the other stuff I do does not make any sense. I'm not fasting just because I want my A1C to be good so my doctor can be happy. I'm excited that he's happy. I'm excited that the weight's going down. But if those things happen and they don't lead to me being able to enjoy life, creating the life I've wanted, go to the next level, being with the people I care about and love and doing the things I want, then there is no point. Right? So we educate, we empower, we encourage. And the goal is to change your thought process, to begin getting you to understand and getting you to believe that you have the power to make the choice. You have the ability to set the course of your health. Regardless of what's happened in the past, we can't change that. But from today, from right now, I can chart the course of my destiny when it comes to my health. That's what education says. I understand my body. I understand how things affect it. I understand how sleep and exercise and stress and emotions and food, I understand how that works. And I understand that I can make choices. We educate. We empower to give the tools so that you can implement the things that you just learned. The health action plan, pillars, boundaries, borders, checklists, those things that say to you, if I follow this plan, I will get the things that I need. I will show up with those things. That's what that says. And then we encourage with the community that you are part of, this community that says, hey, we are in this together, and you can be a voice for change. There are over 1 billion people on the planet right now that have diabetes or pre-diabetes. There are countless numbers of others who are predisposed to heart attack and strokes and fatty liver and obesity and metabolic syndrome and on and on and on and on. You can be a voice that says, hey, we don't have to keep having that. We can be different. We can be healthy. And that's what this space is all about. We educate, we empower, and we encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, go to the next level. That is long, healthy life. That phrase you just heard me say, long, healthy life. And so I'm excited. I'm always glad when I'm here with you. We will, so as remember, we are having some changes in our schedule. So we're going to be traveling over the next couple of days. And so our check-in tomorrow, our pop-up live will be a little different. We'll be in a different space, hopefully, a different space. And then our tomorrow night, when we normally do our 9 p.m. check-in at 56 hours, that'll be a little different. Haven't quite done what we're going to do there, but you'll have something in this space. And then on Friday, of course, we'll have something for the time when we normally do our check-in as we break our fast. We will be back on Saturday at 9 p.m. Central for Video from the Vault, and then Sunday morning, This Week in Review, right here at 6 a.m. Central. But Monday, we'll be right back for Dwain Woode MD Live as we continue our Blueprint series on how do we install and how do we remain consistent as we head to that goal of long, healthy life. Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, go to the next level. We're creating the life we've always wanted, and we are living limitless lives. Have a great one. We'll see you in the course of the rest of this week, and as we get into the new week. Here, let's go ahead and take another look at that Move campaign, and we'll be out right after that. Good night, everybody. Welcome to Move, metabolic optimization via exercise. This isn't just about workouts. It's about moving your body, moving your habits, and moving your life forward. Each episode builds consistency, strength, and resilience step by step. I'm Dr. Dwain Woode, and together we're writing the story of health, transformation, and limitless living. This is Move. Let's get started.